I realized early on that if you have to explain why your material is revolutionary, it probably really isn't. The best composites that I've ever created, the ones that end up in MB&F watches, or when Robert Downey Jr. is sliding on one of my rings, they don't really need their own marketing campaign. They just need to exist. People see them and they touch them and they work with them and they immediately understand. And that's when you know you've created something worth making, when the material really becomes its own advocate. A Mercedes has to look like a Mercedes.
Correct.
You know, whether it's this year or that year, you might not be able to really see it, but there are edges to the pool.
Correct.
At what point does a Mercedes start to look like a Porsche? You know, there is some tipping point.
Yeah.
Whereas when the brand itself is a little more liquid, which is how I try and keep it, you can kind of go with the flow and sort of go where the idea takes you a little bit. The work can and does speak for itself. If you need to sell somebody on your idea, then the idea I don't think is necessarily finished. It's like if you have to spend 3 hours trying to convince somebody that they should go on a date with you, and you have to bring out a PowerPoint chart and reference letters and whatever, it's like,
Not happening.
it's not the same thing. Every big project that I've had, I don't have a CV. I have a master's degree that's literally in between 2 thick cookbooks in the kitchen somewhere.
Okay.
No one's ever asked for it.
Yeah.
Nobody gives a crap. They just want to know, can this guy make us money?
Yeah.
You know, it's a little cynical, but it is very much true.
But that's true. Coming up on Design Mindset, James Thompson of Black Badger on why an industry obsessed with personal branding, sometimes the most powerful thing that you do is step back and let your materials tell the story. Hey everyone, welcome to Design Mindset. I'm Radhika Seth. In a world where designers are constantly told to build their own personal brands, post daily on social media, and become thought leaders, today's conversation is about a different approach entirely. What happens when you let your work do all the talking? My guest today has built an incredible reputation, not through self-promotion, but through pure craft mastery. James Thompson, the founder of Black Badger, and his journey is absolutely wild. From Vancouver to Sweden, from making glowing rings for Arnold Schwarzenegger to Robert De Niro, to revolutionizing watch material and collaborating with MB&F. Here's what makes James fascinating. He operates out of what he calls the Badger's Den in Gothenburg, Sweden, and has quietly become one of the most respected names in advanced materials. His approach? Create materials so ordinary that they generate their own buzz. Forge collaborations so meaningful with clients that they become your advocates, and focus so intensely on the craft that your work becomes undeniable. So, from Forti dials made from automotive paint to waste proprietary loom materials called Badgerite, developed from Swiss Superluminova manufacturers, James represents a masterclass in letting innovation be your voice. And the best part, he genuinely seems to find the whole thing amusing. James, welcome to Design Mindset, and thank you for taking your time from your materials to join us.
Thank you very much. In fact, I think you pretty much covered everything in your intro, so I guess we're done.
No, we've just begun.
Okay.
Because I've been following your work since a very long time. I think when I joined Yanko Design in 2006, I think that's when in those early formative days is when I had started following your work. And one thing that always struck me is that you've built this incredible reputation across, entirely that works for itself. You've got celebrities wearing your rings. You're co-owner of certain watch brands, and you've collaborated with MB&F, and you've taken this quieter approach. Was this intentional, or did it just naturally evolved for you?
Honestly, I think it depends what day of the week you ask me that, because it does really feel like a rolling answer. I think a lot of it probably comes from a geographic perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm from Vancouver, Canada.
Mm-hmm.
I've been living in Gothenburg on the west coast of Sweden since about 2002. And the kind of brands that I was always really pursuing and really idolizing when I was in design school here weren't based in Sweden. I mean, Sweden, we got IKEA and we got Volvo. I'm actually sitting here in Gothenburg, which is the hometown of Volvo. And the companies that I was always really excited about were a little more bombastic and a little rowdier, I think, not pragmatic at all. So brands like Oakley and these kinds of companies that really embraced advanced materials and advanced production methods, and even an advanced design language, almost bordering on an alien design language, were things that I just absolutely loved. And because I wasn't able to physically go knock on Lamborghini's front door or Oakley's front door or something, it was all being done online. And I think, I mean, even from when I got to know yourself and Yanko, that was really, like, I was still in design school. So this was about 2008. And a blog like yours, just putting up a picture of a project I had done, or how do I say this politely? A fake press release that I had sent out so that people would pay attention to me because I was lonely and bored and pissed off. So thank you. But getting these pictures up on a very respected international design blog really sort of scratched an itch for me. And I think because there wasn't all these brands that I was looking for on my front door, and it was all being done online, I think you almost become known more as your user handle on various blogs. So if you're on something like Core 77 or Yanko or Design Milk or any of these kinds of things, you know, if your user handle is Dave Loves Sketching 22, you're literally going to introduce yourself as that to people when you meet up at something.
Correct.
I mean, the amount of times that I've been introduced to a brand CEO at something like Geneva Watch Days, where I just was last week, people will say, "Oh, and this is our friend James Thompson," and blank stares. And then another maybe marketing person goes, "Yeah, this is Black Badger," and you see like one guy in the back row go, "Yeah!" Like they get it, and then suddenly I'm being introduced as Black Badger, which I never do myself. And I realize that as I'm trying to explain this to you, looking over my shoulder is, of course, this
lovely
35-foot high cartoon picture of myself. So as soon as you start talking about, and the fact that I'm giving a 20-minute response on this, I don't consider myself at all to be a quiet designer or somebody that lets their work speak for themselves. And I guarantee my mom is killing herself right now when she's hearing this somewhere. So, but your reasoning, I'm really interested in. So feel free to psychologically pick me apart.
So see, I love that you started Black Badger just as, you know, a fun way to do little projects during your master's degree. And you mentioned, you know, some of that, somewhere that your best compliment was when someone was saying they used your guidelines for 6 months, you know, without thinking whether they were doing it right or not. So there's something beautiful about creating systems that work so intuitively. How did that philosophy extend from your academic work to these incredibly high-profile collaborations? Can you share some insight?
Yes, absolutely. It comes, to be totally honest, it comes from a place of being very pissed off and being very marginalized. Put some coffee on, I'll tell you the whole story. Basically, when I moved to Sweden in 2002, I was studying industrial design at one of the big universities in Lund, a town in the southern part of Sweden, and a very respected design program. And about a year and a half in, I got kicked out of the program because I wasn't Swedish, which is bizarre because the fact that I moved here from Canada, like, come on. Basically, the program went through a shift where they went from being an international master's degree to a Swedish master's degree. And basically, I was the only person that didn't fit the mold. So midway through the education, on a Thursday, I quite literally got told to pack up my desk and leave. And this, I don't know how much swearing I'm allowed to do in your show, so I'm really trying here. It created such an adverse situation, as my father would say, that I suddenly my voice had been taken away from me, my purpose had been taken away from me, and I was now living on the other side of the world, purposeless. And it created such a feeling of, let's say, having a chip on your shoulder or kind of being the underdog. And that's actually exactly when I started Black Badger. It was about 2005. And it came from a place of just, to hell with you guys. I don't need your stinking program. I'm going to, go my own way, as Fleetwood Mac would say. And I just started doing what I wanted to do and finding projects. Honestly, nothing was making any money. Like, I wasn't like working for Mark Newsom or anything. It was just dumb little fun projects that I liked. I made this for me. And if you like it and you want to buy one, that's fantastic. But it's something that I made for myself for whatever grumpy little reason. And I think what really worked with that was because it was kind of a hobby, I didn't necessarily need to start doing things right away and paying rent with it and sort of living the grown-up lifestyle with it, because I was still in kind of broke student mode. So what this did was it let me make things that in my little ivory tower, I thought were great. And it kind of let me hit the cheat codes a little bit and create a brand identity that was very consistent and very clean. I didn't have to go, oh boy, carbon fiber's really out this year, but boy, everyone's using Baltic plywood, so maybe I should do something with that. No, I kept going in my own little direction.
Yeah, direction.
Yeah, and then before I knew it, I had established a brand identity that I had put 2 or 3 or even 4 years into. And by that point, it kind of had a bit of flesh on the bone, and I could really start looking at it going, there's a couple things that nobody's really bothering to do, because if they're part of a bigger brand, they don't have the luxury of just screwing around, for want of a better term. A lot of these big experimental design companies can't afford to have somebody go, I'm going to spend 3 months trying to make a table out of marmalade.
Yeah.
Who knows? And of course it doesn't work. But learning why it didn't work and realizing that little recipe book I have of why things don't work is 100% the most valuable commodity that I bring to the table as a designer.
Wow.
Because I can't sketch to save my life.
Okay.
I talk too much. I swear too much. I'm impossible to sit still. I probably don't work well with others. Ask my guys at Arcanaut. But this little, not just being okay with failing, but I would almost say that's my profession. I screw things up for you for a living. And that is actually really interesting and exceptionally valuable to the bigger companies that don't have time, or their corporate structure, or their workshop insurance provider won't let them stuff magnesium through a coffee machine, or whatever kinds of things that have happened here recently.
My God, very, very adventurous and very interesting point of view. So when you're working with high-profile clients like MB&F, or when Robert Downey Jr. is wearing your rings on Instagram, how do you resist the temptation, to make yourself the story rather than the material innovation? Because that's massive exposure out there.
I really try and separate, pardon me, James Thompson, the nice polite kid from Vancouver, from Black Badger, the super adventurous, kick-ass design superhero kind of thing. Because as much as I dislike being kind of pigeonholed with that, honestly, that's just because of the name. If I would have been called ABC Design,
Hmm.
It's not like I would be standing there saying, I'm Captain ABC. It just wouldn't be. But because the name has that kind of silly self-deprecation to it,
Hmm.
that gets picked up on a lot. But what that does is it lets you almost use it as a bit of a not entirely serious alter ego. Because if you look at something like making glow in the dark rings,
Hmm.
you know, if someone says, oh, it's a James Thompson ring, nobody cares. They're like, oh, is that one of those Black Badger ones?
Huh.
Suddenly it sounds like, it kind of belongs like that a little bit.
Correct, correct, correct.
And it's very difficult not to kind of get romanced
Hmm.
by that. And when something like you said, like Robert Downey Jr. having a couple of the rings and wearing those around and stuff.
Hmm.
I mean, honestly, it takes every ounce of my energy not to blast the crap out of that through every platform possible. But at the same time, you don't want to look needy.
Yeah.
You don't want to post it 6 times in a row and have somebody go, oh God, he's still, it's like Omega Watches going, yeah, we went to the moon.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we heard that. That
Yeah.
came up.
Yeah.
It's been discussed.
That's,
So it's difficult to not um,
yeah.
to not take too much ownership of it,
Hmm.
because I think it's important for the narrative and for the brand direction is to have it be Black Badger can be anything.
Yeah.
Right now, you can hear the echo. It's one chubby middle-aged guy sitting in a concrete room by himself.
Mm-hmm.
But through your own sort of semiotics and your own filters, you can imagine it as. And I used to say this where whenever I would tag something for the studio on Instagram, I would always tag it in a different place, like 1,500 miles off the east coast of New Zealand on a decommissioned Russian nuclear submarine, or like in the mountains deep beneath NORAD, or all just dumb stuff,
Yeah.
purely for my own entertainment, because it kind of, when you work by yourself, it makes you kind of giggle a
No,
little bit.
I think it's a very mature approach that you have taken. And
Mature.
yeah, very mature.
You say so.
Look at it from my point of view and my perspective. I'm like, you're not being a narcissist out there. You're being sensitive towards what's actually required for your brand, for your product, and for the material itself. So, speaking about
Okay.
speaking about material innovations, I understand you went from being the Lume guy, the glow in the dark guy around 2013-14 to developing Badgerite in cooperation with Swiss Superluminova manufacturers. So how did that evolution happen?
I've kind of gone through different, I almost said eras, which is just going to set up a Taylor Swift joke that my daughter would lose her mind over. When I first started doing rings, it was when I was in design school. And it was basically because I found that I had a lot of extra time.
Hmm.
The program in Vancouver was like 8 days a week just slaving. And then I came to the school in Sweden and they were trying to figure themselves out. And
Hmm.
it was very, very happy and very healthy and very holistic. So you had lots of time. And I was still coming from this, what I now think is kind of a wrong North American mindset of just grind, 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 grind until you drop. So I would be in the workshop on a Sunday morning with a bar of titanium that I had bought from like a bike supply store, just making rings because that was kind of an easy enough thing to do at the time. So first I was the titanium guy, then I was the carbon fiber ring guy, and I had,
Okay.
I milked that cow for years. And then when I started getting into the loom material, that was something that really, it's like pulling the e-brake in a rally car. It just, I went off at a 90-degree angle into the bushes to keep the rally reference going. Because there wasn't anybody in their right mind that was making jewelry for mostly guys, but the aesthetic was no gold, no diamonds, no silver, no big Super Bowl rings or wrapper stuff. It was what we jokingly call anti-bling. So it was, the rings were quite expensive because of the time they took to make, but the material value compared to making, the most basic wedding band in gold, these were worthless.
Yeah.
But, but they were so different and they were so unique and they were so cool, if
Mm.
I can say,
Yeah.
that it really sort of struck a chord with
Mm.
a whole population segment that really had no business looking at my stuff.
Mm.
Like I don't even have a driver's license. I'm not especially into cars,
Really?
but yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, it's kind of embarrassing. So I got my driver's license in Vancouver when I was 17.
Uh-huh.
Fine, didn't have any problems. Then I moved to Sweden, and
Huh.
as a broke student, I didn't need a car in
Huh.
this little idyllic Nordic town
Yeah.
for ages and ages. And now I've got two small kids that have ballet and soccer practice, and
Mhm.
I'm turning 50 in April, and it's like I need to go back and get my driver's license, and I'm terrified. I'm
Ah.
absolutely terrified. And I've been dragging my feet on it for so long.
Mm.
So I'm not really into cars, which
Huh.
is weird to say because sitting right behind me is the complete engine from a McLaren P1,
What are
which
you
is a
show us?
yeah. Well, it's part of it's back there, but the rest of it's been moved onto shelves, kind of over that
Okay.
side.
Okay.
That's something that actually came from McLaren a couple years ago.
Wow.
So there's all these weird motorsports connections,
Mm.
not because I'm into cars, but through the materials, through carbon
Mm.
fiber and stuff. Um, where the heck was it going with this one? Dun, 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 dun. Yeah. So I'm
Mm.
back. The way that a lot of the material connections came in was,
Mm.
for instance, I had a guy buy a carbon fiber
Mm.
wedding ring that I had made, and these were really quite popular. And the guy bought the carbon fiber wedding ring because he was really into racing
Mm.
motorcycles. So he put a picture on like a Ducati owners forum of the carbon fiber gas tank of his, $60,000 motorcycle with my ring sitting on top of it.
Mm.
And that week, I sold 5 other rings to dudes that were race drivers and all this super high speed kind of stuff. And I just thought it was hilarious because I'd be like sitting on the bus
Huh.
with my 7-Eleven paper coffee cup, and I'm getting emails from all these like really, really well known motorsports people. I mean, I ended
Wow.
up making the late Ken Block. I made his wedding ring
Wow.
without
Amazing.
knowing who he was because it was sort of done through his agent and et cetera, et cetera.
Wow.
That's that was probably my first big celebrity connection. So
Mm.
I never got to meet him, unfortunately, but through him, all of his buddies, who
Yeah.
are all rally drivers and extreme sports guys, and the dudes that jump out of helicopters,
Wow.
naked and all this kind of
Yeah.
crazy stuff, they all started buying my stuff. So
Wow.
I was actually sponsored by Monster Energy
Mm.
a couple years ago. And as a constantly tired middle-aged father of two, I thought this was just hilarious because usually they have green hair and
Yeah.
tattoos and they're
Yeah.
setting themselves on fire, and I'm sitting there watching like Peppa Pig trying to stay awake or something. But that's actually a really good example because it wasn't James Thompson sponsored, it was Black Badger.
Yeah.
And Black Badger, in your mind, can be
Any-
whatever you need it to be.
Yeah. True, true, true. Yeah. So like you've created everything from, fortite watch dials, literally turning automotive paint waste into an horological art, to these revolutionary lume materials. So how when do you realize, or is there a way you recognize that, this material has a story worth telling? Is there a method that you have?
Yeah, there absolutely is. And it's honestly just a very personal
Hmm.
connection or reaction to things. I mean, I could probably do much more high tech, expensive,
Hmm.
really, really groundbreaking materials, but people like you and I don't relate to that. It
Hmm.
doesn't matter if something is made of graphene or is made of some kind of found at the bottom of the ocean material,
Hmm.
because that has no frame of reference for us.
Hmm.
But if you can show somebody, like the watch that I'm wearing right now, made by Archinaut, which
Hmm.
is my brand that's I'm a co-owner of with two very good friends of mine. So the watch dial on that
Yeah.
is made of car paint. So this is what everybody calls Fordite. It's the waste material essentially that builds up on the floors and on the walls of automotive paint factories. And I had a big chunk of it right in front of me 2 minutes ago. Found it. So from the outside, it can just be just this weird amorphic lump.
Yeah.
But when you start to sand down through it,
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost like it's geological or like
That's beautiful.
wood grain in trees.
Yeah. Wow.
So what's really fun is the dialogue with this. The material itself, without shooting myself in the foot, is scrap. It's waste. But it's the most human-made product. It's just pure science and chemistry and all this kinds of stuff. But when you change the context of it, you have the most natural-looking stalactite,
Yes.
nautilus shell formations you can possibly think of.
Yeah, that's
So
beautiful.
this was really something that I jumped into really, really quick when I was tipped off about this material from a friend of mine in Paris years ago. And I used it in the rings for quite a bit as a liner on the inside of the ring. And this is where I really kind of made my noise with it, because if you use it on the outside of the ring, it's very colorful and very random and very loud, and it can be too much.
Yeah.
If you have something like a black or a silver ring, and you have that Fordite on the inside of it, okay, so apologies, that's not going to focus very well. There's a titanium ring, and then on the
But with
inside,
the inside, it looks so fantastic and very interesting, very intricate also.
yeah. And this is part of the problem, is that people look at a watch dial like this, and they go, "My God, you're an amazing painter. How did you do that? How did you get all those lines?" I'm like, I didn't. This is a waste material that was probably made 30 years ago and was quite literally rescued from the garbage skip. So I really enjoy that level of contrast. That these Arcanaut Fordite watches are very successful. I think we just shipped about watch number 150, 160, and every single one of the dials is made by these two hands in here.
My God.
And they don't always work. Sometimes you get to the specified thickness, because obviously everything has to fit inside of a watch.
Correct.
So say it's got to be 145 millimeters or 1.45 millimeters thick. And when you get to 1.35, it'll make the hand sit crooked and nobody likes you. And I'm eyeballing all this. I'm not doing this on a CNC or anything.
Yeah.
And sometimes you get the perfect distribution of colors and it looks just like a Kandinsky painting, and it's perfect. And then you measure it and it's like 1.6. Tough luck, buddy. Keep sanding it, and you sand it for another 30 seconds, and all that beautiful pattern's gone, and you might get a little tiny piece of masking tape stuck in the middle of the material from 1986. No way to get rid of it. You can't paint over it. It just scrap. It's garbage.
Wow.
But the failure is what's really fun. The failure is, gold is always gold. And you've got, 3,000 years of knowledge you can sort of pick through and find out how do you make it do this or that.
Yeah.
How you can make old discarded car paint into a viable watch dial inside a complex Swiss mechanical wristwatch it's weird. You could probably even say it's stupid doing that.
Incredible. I wouldn't call it stupid. I think it's incredible, because this story that you're telling me right now, it feels like the perfect metaphor, for your approach that you're doing. You're finding beauty in things that are overlooked, and
Absolutely.
And is that a conscious, approach, or do you naturally gravitate towards something that is very unconventional? So, like, given the way you have been exposed to your world, is it something that comes naturally to you? How do you do this?
I mean, the curiosity that I think you have from childhood really drives a lot of that. One of my very good friends, and I would probably say one of my mentors, a gentleman named Max Booster of MB&F watches, who I'm guessing we'll talk about in a bit. unofficial slogan of their brand is a creative adult is a child who survived.
Mm.
And now that I have kids of my own, I see how excited
Yeah.
my 6-year-old daughter gets about the little plastic clip from the bag of bread.
Mm.
You know, forget high-tech toys and all that kind of stuff. She'll find a tree branch on the way home and wake me up at 4 o'clock in the morning to tell me about her favorite seashells she saw.
Wow.
She saw. That's right. Made that
Seashell.
hard for myself. That's
Seashell.
right.
She saw.
That's when the subtitling will pop up at the bottom.
Yeah.
No, I think curiosity plays a huge part of it, but it has to be honest. Honesty of materials, I think, is probably one of my real 10 commandments, so to speak. If you look at it from an architectural perspective, steel and glass and concrete aren't the most sexy or exciting, complicated materials. But look at the Chrysler building. You know, I mean, it's Rockefeller Center. Holy shit! They're gorgeous and they're art. They're 100% art.
Yeah.
But when it comes to small scale objects like this, everything has to be some kind of weird, obscure, gold, ceramic, titanium, you know, Iron Man style alloy that no one's ever heard of in order to look at it. So with Archinaut, it's a steel case for the watch. It's a very good quality Swiss steel, milled and all this. But we're not trying to impress you. I'll put it to you this way. I have something I call the eyebrow index.
Okay.
And it works when you have eyebrows like mine. when you show somebody something, if their eyebrows go up, they're impressed. Gold, diamonds, platinum impresses people.
Yeah.
If their eyebrows go down, they're interested. They want to know what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah.
And if I'm given a choice, I would rather interest people than impress people any day of the week, because that's the story that I want to be involved in. So something like Fordite, I think, is the perfect metaphor for that, because this stuff traditionally would get just thrown in the garbage from all these industrial car factories, and it was some random person that, when, you know, cutting off one of these chunks, kind of cut it in half and notice the cross section. You have all these gorgeously varied paint color striations that were 100% random. It just happened to be what colors were being painted.
Correct.
That time.
Yeah.
And you have no control over it, and especially when you get the topography of them and you're trying to get a flat surface, the color changes and the patterns.
Correct.
It is certified impossible to predict or even affect what the outcome's going to be. So from an art perspective, that's super interesting. From a design perspective and a brand owner perspective, going to jump out the window. Because you cannot, every single piece is a 100% piece unique. So if I think of my partner at Archinaut, Rob, who does the marketing and the web shop and all this kind of brand identity stuff, what a pain in the rear this has to be, because every time we have a new watch, well, no, you can't just say, oh, it's item 222 and looks like that one. It sort of needs to be presented as like, you know, Simba from the Lion King. You have to hold it up on the rock and sing about it. So it's very fulfilling, but it's also complicated. Yeah.
Tell me more about your relationship with Super Luminova and the kind of work that you did with them. So walk us through that.
Well, it started about maybe 2008, 2009 or so. And I had an American knife maker friend, a guy named John Gonzalez of Dervish Knives in the US. And he's part of this knife maker community that makes just these gorgeous, some of them are very Rambo tactical, some of them are much more artistic, you know, sort of kukri style daggers and really just art. And he would use little thin slices of a acrylic material called Moonglow. And Moonglow had luminescent powder
Okay.
in with the resin. So what this showed me was you could actually mill a little solid piece out of something that would glow in the dark. So they used it for little details on their knives and stuff. And yeah, I've told this analogy so many times, but I have to for the rest of my life because it just shows what a complete fraud I am. He sent me a little sample of this, saying, James, you have to try this in like a titanium ring. That would be so cool. And I emailed back something to the effect of, oh, this looks stupid. No, this is some kind of goofy laser Tron. No, 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 no. You know, no one's ever going to want stuff like this. I still have that email. That email literally feeds my family now.
Yeah.
Because I tried it and it was just awesome. It was these perfect little Tron
Yeah.
laser light highlights. And in something like men's jewelry,
Yeah.
nobody was doing any of this. I didn't compete against anybody because there was nobody else.
Yeah.
Nowadays, 15 years later, you can go on eBay and buy sort of really cheap, crappy loom rings from all over the place. And I've had ideas pilfered by every jackass on the planet, if I can say without getting too bitter. So I really needed to kind of stay ahead of the curve, both with the materials that I was using, the partnerships and the companies I was working with, and also just the application method. So Moonglow was a flat acrylic slab. You could mill parts out of it.
Okay.
Worked really nice, but it was a solid material. So you were kind of limited in this post and beam style of construction where you had to cut things out of it. After a while of working with that, I got contacted by Superluminova in Switzerland, specifically a company called RC Tritech. Now, one of my absolute best friends, their boss, Albert Zeller. And what they do is they manufacture the glow pigment, that is glow powder, that is used by 98% of the Swiss watch industry. So every brand uses Superluminova on the hands and the indicators of their watches.
Correct.
And this was really an eye-opener for me because Tritech works with all the big brands, all the big expensive ones that you've heard of, and brands that make 5,000 or 10,000 watches a year. And what I realized quite quickly was how slow and how plodding companies like that work. Whereas with me, Black Badger, so to speak, could be quick and agile. I didn't have to ask any marketing committee for permission. It didn't have to fit into my third quarter 2027, CNC projections. It shows up in the mail and I go, oh shit, that's really cool. And 2 hours later, I'm sending Albert back pictures saying, have you ever thought about? So this was really cool because I got to be kind of their unofficial skunk works. So I would kind of get access to new little bits long before the Tudor and the Breitling and the Rolexes of the world would. So this was seriously cool.
Wow.
So they used me to kind of experiment with new materials and methods, and I was using them as kind of a force multiplier, because it sort of gave me a bit of manufacturing clout.
Lovely.
Yeah, very, very, and it continues to this day. I've got pictures of their CEO, reading my son a bedtime story a couple of years ago when he came to see me. Just a fantastic partnership, and I don't think I would be doing the kind of stuff that I did if I hadn't hooked up with RC Tritech, because, well, I mean, not to oversimplify, but they're Swiss. They're very Swiss. They're Swiss as hell. And everybody needs a couple of Swiss people around just to kind of to make sure things get done properly.
I can imagine. So, because
less Canadians starting fire in the background and stuff.
Yeah, because you worked across incredibly diverse industries, celebrity jewelry, F1 teams, submarines, luxury watches. So how do you establish credibility in new sectors where you're not out there promoting yourself? So how does the work open your new doors for you?
It gets to be more and more difficult because as soon as you have a couple of those big heavyweight names in your stable, MB&F, for instance. I don't think I've ever done a single interview since 2017 that didn't mention MB&F. And God bless them for it, but it's kind of like if you're trying to put out your first album and at some point you sang backup for Sinatra or something, that's going to get mentioned all the time. So it's a blessing and a curse, I think. But it definitely does give credibility. That's cannot deny that at all. But because the markets that I'm actively searching on, I try and go for ones that are as random as possible. Once you've done several sort of supercar manufacturers, it's like, oh, you want to make another red car? Oh, that sounds exciting. Okay. Then you get hit up by somebody that wants you to design a lawnmower, and in certain circumstances, designing a lawnmower can be a lot sexier than designing the new Lamborghini. Who knows? So it's this kind of constant reinvention, I think, is something that I need. Otherwise, when things get too familiar, I get itchy and bitchy, I think, quite quickly. So I need this. I need to hear the ice cracking under my feet. It's a terrible way to work because I'm always stressed out and grumpy, according to my wife. But what it does is I do think it gives another level to the work. I think if you're too comfortable and too familiar, I do think it shows in the work. A bit like seeing a play that's been rehearsed too many times. You can kind of see the gags coming from over the horizon. And being the new outsider, I think, it's almost like a Forrest Gump effect. Just being in the right place at the right time, and just it's like getting marriage advice from the stranger sitting on the plane next to you. Why the hell wouldn't you? They don't know all the background. They don't know that you've been having the same problem for 25 years or whatever. They just hear what's happening and go, well, okay, it sounds like you need to do this and this. So it's this kind of innocence, and I would almost call being a bit professionally naive that I really struggled with early on because I didn't come from a Swiss watchmaking background. Getting big brands to take you seriously was just not going to happen. And especially being, from Canada, I don't have the cool Swiss French accent and all this kind of stuff. So I really was an outsider that didn't belong. And that's where somebody like Max of MB&F, honestly, just kind of putting up his hand a little bit and saying, yeah, come on over here and work with us.
So, but then there's got to
established.
There's got to be some business tension also here, though, right? Because you've mentioned that Black Badger has had, nearly company sinking challenges in the past. So how do you balance the integrity of letting your work speak for itself and the practical need, for you to generate business and stay visible? So how do you balance that?
I'm not sure I do, to be frank. Even though the public face of the brand is very much shown through the Black Badger filter, it is still me. I'm the only person in the company. I mean, there's nobody else in the room here with me. So it's very easy to get bogged down. And if you have one of these professional little bumps where, I don't know, some famous brand says, we'd love to sell your stuff, can you make us 200 rings? I mean, it's not like I open up a drawer and I pull out 200 rings and I FedEx them out. It starts with, okay, well, let's see what titanium prices are like right now and how I can physically manufacture that much stuff with my one-person capability. And when you get into too much of the manufacture mode, the creative side of things is the first thing that suffers. And that's, it's kind of a bit of that right now. Like, I'm very busy manufacturing stuff for Archinaut, all these 4-dite watch dials. But what it doesn't do is it doesn't leave me any time to go back to the original. Can I make whatever the joke was, a table out of marmalade or something.
Yeah.
Because that level of blue sky theory either requires a huge amount of physical and creative space around you, or a huge amount of rum. You can pick which one works better for you.
Rum.
No, sorry, keeping it honest. It's difficult, and it's a balancing act that I would definitely say I have not always done very well. Because everything is so personal and everything is made by my two hands, I really have a hard time letting go. And even if it's something to the effect of somebody just saying, "Hey, can you sharpen this pencil for me?" Well, you're damn right I can, and I'm going to sharpen the hell out of that pencil. You'll never have seen a pencil as sharpened as, like it. I need to learn to let go, but not compromising and not letting go and being insanely obsessed with the minute details is part of the reason why I'm having this conversation here with you right now. So I'm not sure what the balance is. If you have any feedback, I'm all ears.
So here's a cool way to find how you would have balance, because I have the design mindset challenge for you. So
oh dear.
I'm roll up your sleeves. I'm going to give you a hypothetical scenario, and I'd like to hear your take on it and how you would solve for it. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. So you've just developed a breakthrough composite material that could revolutionize watch case manufacturing. It's lighter, stronger, and has that incredible visual quality that's never been seen before. A major brand wants to license it, but their marketing team wants you to do interviews, social media campaigns, appear at the trade shows, and as the genius behind the innovation. And they're offering you to make you the face of the campaign. Think a full documentary on your Badger's Den featured on Wallpaper magazine or Yanko design as well, and the whole celebrity designer treatment kind of a scenario. The massive exposure, for Black Badger is incredible, but it goes against everything that you believe about letting the work talk, and letting your material speak. And the material is extraordinary. It doesn't need you to be a spokesperson, but the business opportunity here is very huge. So let's be honest. You've got a wife, kids, and everything. What would your next move be?
God, I wish you wouldn't have said that "let's be honest" part at the end, because that just shot a hole in my answer like you wouldn't believe. It is part of the job. And actually, I had this conversation in Geneva with a Norwegian watch brand, Micro Milspec, that I just released a watch with a few months ago. And it was very successful professionally and artistically and all this. I did a lot of the marketing and having me as Black Badger, like they were filming in the Badger Den here and showing us do all this crazy stuff and all that. I don't necessarily love doing it, but I'm pretty good at it.
Okay.
So it's a bit of a necessary burden.
Okay.
It's so easy to overdo it, and it's so easy to come off as not to step on toes, but what my dad would say is a used car salesman kind of look. Which is that the guy's always got the right answers and he always knows when to take the little pause and say the dramatic. It's crap. We're all awkward. We're all nervous. We're all tripping over our own words.
Yeah.
But my grandfather had a fantastic quote. He used to say, it was the most simple thing ever. He said, "You don't have to yell to be heard."
My God, so profound.
So it's so good. And especially coming from somebody as habitually loud as me. The work can and does speak for itself. If it doesn't, if you need to sell somebody on your idea, then the idea I don't think is necessarily finished. It's like if you have to spend 3 hours trying to convince somebody that they should go on a date with you, and you have to bring out a PowerPoint chart and reference letters and whatever, it's like,
not happening.
It's not the same thing.
Yeah, it's not the
Take a
same.
knee. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I get you. I get you. Lovely, lovely. So from here, we go into a very special segment, which is called the rapid fire round. You don't get much time to think, so let's go with the flow. The first question.
Dear.
The biggest advantage of being a silent designer.
I would probably say like casual reinvention. You can kind of
Mm,
move the steering wheel left and right quite easily without having to really. A Mercedes has to look like a Mercedes.
correct,
You know, whether it's this year or that year, you might not be able to really see it, but there are edges to the pool. At
correct.
what point does a Mercedes start to look like a Porsche? You know, there is some tipping point.
Yeah.
Whereas when the brand itself is a little more liquid, which is how I try and keep it, you can kind of go with the flow and sort of go where the idea takes you a little bit.
Mhm. So one piece of work that you've done and you're proud of, precisely because no one knows that you made it.
There's been a couple of watch projects that I've done
Uh-huh.
where, I'm going to say this really carefully, where originally it was supposed to be a Black Badger edition.
Oh.
And where I would usually get called into these kinds of things is where it's a brand that's quite big, quite successful, but they're feeling a little boring. They don't really have a lot of sort of razzle dazzle.
Mhm.
So I would be brought in basically just to make a mess and really kind of shake things up.
Mm.
So I would respectfully, you know, sort of dump my toys all over and go absolutely crazy and come to some conclusions that they did not, could not, would not come to themselves.
Mm.
That's literally my business model.
Mm.
And I would get really excited about this because I'm a terrible business person. I have no concept of finances. I'm
Mm.
completely disinterested in money. Take that with a grain of salt, but you know, that's not what motivates me. The project and the project reveal is what gets me out of bed in the morning. That's what I really get jazzed about. And there's been a couple of these projects where we had something about to come out that was just so cool and so fun and so, if I can say, so me. Like I put so much of myself and my personality into these things. And then the watch comes out, or I get the press release, you know, 2 hours before the drop. And I go, I've never seen this before in my entire life. What the hell is this?
Wow.
And in these times, it was a watch brand that was owned by another senior watch brand.
Oh,
And I think somebody at the senior watch brand went, yeah, that's cool, but I've had this design sitting on my desk for a year. So what? Well, we'll just do that and even put his logo on. Well, not to that extent, but things where my identity and my input got very much brushed away in lieu of something easier, cheaper, faster.
mm.
And that hurts. That hurts. Financially, didn't make a difference. But as far as
Yeah.
I want to be able to have my kid pick up this watch in 50 years and go, oh, yeah, yeah, my dad worked on this. Grandpa worked on this. When
Nice.
the whole time I'll be haunting from the corner of the kitchen going, the hell I did.
Okay, complete this sentence. I
Okay.
I knew I made it when.
Uh, I'm waiting to make it first before I can answer that.
Okay,
you,
that's
you
humble.
can't ask a Canadian that question because
Okay.
you will never get an answer until
Okay.
doomsday.
Social media, necessary evil or completely avoidable?
Necessarily avoidable. Yeah.
Okay.
It needs to be kept on a leash
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm.
a bit like your cat,
Mm-hmm.
it's fighting back against you when you're not noticing
Mm-hmm.
and plotting and waiting for your downfall.
Okay, when
That sounded way more cynical than it did in my head, but it's something that needs to be tempered.
oh,
It's if it was going to be the great be all and social savior of the universe, it would have by now. Instead, it just makes everybody feel like big fat failures.
uh-huh.
And I hate that I like it as much as I do because it doesn't like me. So it's necessary to be able to put a bit of a wall up somewhere, which is also part of the appeal of Black Badger versus James Thompson.
Correct. So your biggest drink moment, you mentioned your expertise is drinking. So what's the story?
Oh God, you caught me off guard with that one. What's my best drinking story?
Yeah.
Oh, dear Lord, I was okay. I was in the men's room at Salon QP, which is a very high-end London watch show, and it's in the Saatchi Gallery, really, really fancy, and it's where all the big major brands would be exhibiting in a sort of small, intimate environment. And I was there because I had done a watch with a British brand called Schofield.
Okay.
Really, really cool, and it was actually my first sort of big watch that I had done. So I was just happy to be there. And in fact, I was, as you alluded to, I was just mostly there for the free drinks, sorry to say. And later on in the night, I'm in the men's room, trying to get too graphic here, and there's, 5 or 6 guys standing up along the wall at one of the urinal things.
Yeah.
And everyone's kind of standing there doing their thing you do after many free glasses of wine.
Yeah.
And this deep, booming voice comes out from behind and goes, "Are you the one they call the Badger?" And like a cowboy movie, like all 6 heads all kind of turn around to the side and like, what? And it was this Finnish watchmaker named Stepan Sarpaneva, who I would then go on and do 2 very successful watches with. And he would also definitely be like a bit of a business mentor and all this. But that was basically the first meeting. It was, "Are you the one they call the Badger?" And we all sort of turn around and I go, "I think he's talking to me, guys." And everybody else just cleared the bathroom and left right away. I don't know what they thought was going on, where there was some kind of like KGB intelligence drop. Yeah, John Wick. That's right.
That just felt like a scene out of Hollywood,
But actually, this is going to sound kind of dumb, but this is a skill that I would say needs to be part of the design school curriculum, is how to handle yourself in social situations. Because every big project that I've had, I don't have a CV. I have a master's degree that's literally in between 2 thick cookbooks in the kitchen somewhere. No one's ever asked for it. No one's ever asked for my credentials. Nobody gives a crap. They just want to know, can this guy make us money?
Yeah.
It's a little cynical, but it is very much true.
But that's the truth. Yeah.
But the ability to just walk into any social situation and get people interested in what you're interested in is critical. I had a conversation with my son Alfred about this just last night. He's 9 years old now, and he's getting really into F1 and design because his dad is. So we were just sort of joking and talking around about this. And he was asking like if I like drawing or if I like computers better and stuff. And I said, I actually like designing by talking. I think if you have a bunch of designers sit down with a bag of markers and you say, I wonder what cars are going to look like in 30 years. And everybody starts drawing pictures. You're going to get a physical object that quote unquote solves that problem. If you leave the markers and you just have a couple of beers or whatever, or a couple of cups of coffee and just start talking about it, what you might find is that you actually find a way to remove the need for that object that you are going to be designing. So it's almost more of a holistic. Do you create the object that solves the problem, or do you create a method that removes the need for the object? And which of those is more sustainable? And the ability to just go into a reception or a boardroom full of people you've never met without an expensive laptop and 3D model presentation. The equivalent of, Mad Men, the guy that can just sketch an idea on a pizza box. I would hire that person 100% of the time. Simple communication, I think, is vastly overrated, underrated. And because we're relying so much on social media and pictures that you can spend half an hour tweaking to make it look a little cooler and colors pop a little more, everything just becomes very dull. ironically.
Okay, tomorrow, if Robert Downey Jr. were to call you, design a wild ring with him, that he has this idea, would you take his call?
Oh, God, yeah. Oh, God, yeah. First of all, I'd be stupid not to. Secondly, I'm basically Iron Man, so
Okay.
you can add the laugh track at the bottom of that. No, it's funny. Again, my son went to his first day of kindergarten a couple years ago and told all of his teachers that his dad knows Iron Man.
Ah,
So then when I showed up to pick him up at school, there was like 20 little faces just looking up at me with huge eyes. And I'm like,
so cute.
no, not really, buddy. Not really. I would dearly love to do some more stuff for the notorious RDJ. And actually, without seeming too braggartly, that
Wow.
is one of the Archinaut 4 dials, a very, very special one that is
For him.
for him.
Ah, lovely. I hope Robert Downey is lovely. I
The
hope
RDJ.
it is.
So I got to know his stylist a little bit through Instagram, because for some of the Avengers Endgame press tour, he was wearing a watch from a brand called De Bethune, which is a unbelievably gorgeous high-end Swiss watchmaker. And just recently, got it here, I had actually done a watch project with De Bethune, which is this one here. And it is just ridiculously beautiful. So this is called the DB28 Grand Bleu.
Wow.
And because it's me, it's got extra glow in the dark elements and all this kind of stuff. So I saw the pictures of him at one of the press conferences wearing another De Bethune. And I saw that, I think it was his stylist was tagged in the picture. So I sent her a message on Instagram. I think I was on the bus on the way home from the pub. Bear with me. And it just said something to the effect of, hey, yeah, I've also done a De Bethune watch like the one that he's wearing, except mine glows in the dark. So wouldn't that be more Iron Man? Like totally just joking around. And then like an hour later, I see that I've got 3 messages on Instagram from this lady, the absolutely brilliant Jean Yang, and it said something kind of the effect of, "You're right. This is great. He looked at the pictures and loves them. Can we figure something out?"
Wow.
So what was meant to be a little bit of, I wanted to feel like a big shot kind of thing, and for once the boomerang actually came back, and yeah, he's got 3 of my rings. He's worn them on Good Morning America and the Graham Norton show. And I've got a picture of him wearing one when he's on stage introducing the Rolling Stones at a concert in Los Angeles to 70,000 people, kind of holding it up like this. And you can see it. I mean, it's awesome.
Awesome. I'm so happy.
But what I want is for him to send the private jet, bring me out to Hollywood, and, I can hang out with the Avengers.
So I am going to set that out for you. And Robert Downey Jr., your team, whoever's listening, please make it happen.
But actually, that's almost a bit of a cautionary tale, because as all kind of designers do, especially the ones that are sort of self-employed, as soon as you get one of these, oh, did you know that, pick a name, Bono, really likes your rings and would love to have one. So of course, that's a massive opportunity. So you're going to make like 50 of these things at your own expense and rip them over. Yeah. And you're probably the 10th person that day that sent a bunch of
things to him.
Things for this person, just like supermodels or, Formula One drivers just get inundated with this stuff. Yeah. The ones that actually make $50 million a year and can afford to buy your shit are the ones getting it all for free.
Yeah, I completely get
it. It's a very slippery slope. It's impossible not to get into it, but at the same time, you do need to pick and choose a bit. And if there is something that seems like it'll work, just lean into it and go nuts. I mean, there's been a few of these high-profile celebrity clients along the ways, and they've all, been fantastic as far as getting exposure and that kind of thing. But a lot of that is also just my own ego. I want to be able to email my mom and say, hey, did you know whatever famous person is wearing one of your son's rings.
That's
And it feels great. And they're like, oh, they bought it? And you're like, no.
I gifted it.
Yeah. Oh, so you gave a gift to somebody that made $30 million last year? You're like, yeah. Did they call you and say thank you? No. Yeah. But that, that's part of the job. And it sucks sometimes.
Okay, James, this is the last from the rapid fire. Complete this for me. The work speaks loudest when?
The work speaks loudest when it's heard. I mean, that sounds a bit like what we were talking to before about you don't need to yell to be heard. If you need to sell it really, really hard, there's some aspect that you haven't missed. And that doesn't matter if you're selling parts for the International Space Station or you're selling ice cream. I think it's the same kind of mentality. A lot of times, I think it's become really quite popular now to just pack everything so full of storytelling that if it's, a pen, well, this part of the pen is actually a piece of the space shuttle, and this part of the pen is actually made from, Genghis Khan's eyebrow or something, that everything becomes so impacted with all this, so overfilled with all this storytelling, that the story itself just gets confused and lost. I think just be like Hemingway. Just keep it clean and honest and good. Don't design don't design to impress other designers. They would drum this into our heads in school, because you'd have, me and three of my buddies, our desks would all be next to each other, and we're trying to one up each other. So we're trying to make something, I wanted to make something really much cooler than what Marcus or Matthias next to me was doing. And we're doing all this stuff to make other designers get jazzed. Yeah. And then the teacher would walk by and go, it's a milk carton you're designing. Nobody is going to pick that off the shelf. You're like, what do you like? Go sit separately. Like, and when you're in the midst of it, it's really difficult to see that you're just doing, pardon the expression, design masturbation. It's you need to take a step back and go, it's not art, it's design. We need somebody to actually take this carton of milk up to the counter and give the person money for it. Otherwise, it's quote unquote failed as a project.
Yeah, I get you. This is a very important point that you bring up, because many times designers these days, and I see this as not as a character flaw, but something, where they forget that design is actually a business solution that you're giving. That somebody's investing in the betterment of a product. And if nobody's going to buy it, then it may as well be art.
Yeah, I agree with that 1,000%. Yeah.
James, this conversation has been a masterclass in strategic restraint. So what strikes me most is how you've turned the absence of self-promotion into a form of communication itself. The mystery, the focus on pure craft, and the way it makes the materials the heroes in every story. So your journey from Vancouver to Badger's Den in Gothenburg, and making rings for Hollywood A-listers, to co-owning a Danish watch company, and from being the loom guy to developing proprietary materials with Swiss manufacturers, it's all happened through pure craft excellence. For everyone listening, you can explore James' extraordinary work at his website, and yes, it's exactly what you'd expect from someone who believes in letting the work do the talking. Pure craft, hero fluff. The key insight I'm taking away from today: in a noisy world, sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is create something so undeniably excellent that it generates its own conversation. The material becomes its own advocate. James, any final thoughts for designers who might be wondering if they really need to be on LinkedIn every day promoting themselves?
Oh God, that's the worst question ever. Because yeah and no. That's such a wishy-washy way to finish this out. Some of them do, and some of them don't.
Okay.
Some, oh, to hell with it. Yeah, I don't know. I'll give you an official I don't know rubber stamp. I'm not sure how to feel that one.
Okay. Thanks for sharing your philosophy with us. This is exactly the kind of perspective that makes design mindset worthwhile. Next week, we'll be exploring how traditional craftsman techniques can inform modern design thinking. Should be equally fascinating. Remember, don't just live by default, design it. And sometimes design
Beautiful.
it quietly. So, see you next week. Thank you so much.